Welcome back to more Lord of the Rings Online. I had to abruptly start recording here because I was putting myself into position to start the episode, but I got this pop-up message here. The upper stores are guarded to prevent unlawful access to the goods within. Because if you remember, in the last episode, I was taking inventory of the food stores as part of the epic quest. So sorry for this crazy abrupt start to the episode, but here we go.
You are welcome to enter the stores, but remove nothing.
Stop, friend. On whose authority do you seek to gain access to the upper stores? You show Tulrahil the inventory from Myrdal, and she recognizes the mark of the Warden of Stores. Aye, that is his mark. You are welcome to enter the stores and compare its contents to your inventory, but remove nothing. Let's see what we got in here. So go to the very back of the upper stores and use the upper stores inventory. Alright, I am at the very back. Getting some lag, of course. Oh my god, this lag is horrific. And use the upper store inventory. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I hear a clicking thing, like you're in the right area for something. Oh, maybe I need to actually use this. There we go. A thorough comparison reveals that the contents of the upper stores are properly accounted. Okay, and then the lower stores is north of the main gate to the city on the first circle. So let me head over that way. Back to the main tier. The lower stores are guarded to prevent unlawful access to the goods within.
Go inside, if you must. It's a waste of time and effort.
Stop. Why do you seek access to the lower stores? No one is supposed to be allowed inside. You show Durion the inventory from Myrdal and say that you are here to compare the record of the goods with the actual supplies within. Why? Is there really a need for this sort of extra work? Shouldn't we be more concerned with bolstering the defense? Once the enemy is lined up outside the walls of the city, Myrdal may wish he had not wasted effort on the redundant task to which he has set you. This is his mark. You may go inside if you must, but I think it is foolish to waste and a waste of time and effort. Finish your task quickly and you may turn your eye on more important errands afterwards. I don't know. He might be embezzling some goods. He sounds a little suspicious. Let me go all the way to the back and then I can use the lower inventory here. The inventory does not match the contents of the lower stores. Some food is missing. My god. This stuttering is really getting to me, man. I will be glad to start a new season on hopefully a little bit more of a stable map. Yes, are you finished? You tell Durion that some of the food appears to be missing. I see, I should have mentioned this when you arrived. But I have had my suspicions for some time now that there might be a rat problem inside the stores. They must have gnawed their way in and spirited away some of the food, especially the grains and cheeses. You should tell Myrdal. He may need to account for slightly lower totals of food for the coming siege. It might be best if he lowers the tally of food.
Yes. Are you finished?
He expects to ration. The rats will keep getting into it, I imagine. Nothing to be done. Yeah, he's very shady. So he's at the Dome of the Sun. Alright. Let me head back up there.
have all the goods we expect?
How do the inventories compare, Kippen? Do we have all the goods? You tell Miradol that the upper stores are fully accounted, but Dirion believes that the rats are to blame for a disparity between the inventory of the lower stores and the goods actually kept there. Miradol nods. I see, that is a shame, but it is not terribly surprising. Rats need to eat as well, and they can sense the coming danger as well or better than we can. It makes sense to me that rats might covet our goods. I will set the total amount of food to be rationed slightly lower than planned in order to account for the rats. Thank you, Kippen. So I'm going all the way back to the lower circle yet again. Miradol may be convinced, but your suspicions remain. Indeed. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to go talk to him at Thrandir, because if he sends me all over the place in terms of the tiers here, he's sending me like tier 2 and 1 and 3 and 5, then I might as well pick up that part of the quest right now. That way I can hopefully cut down a little bit of the running back and forth. Yeah, it's actually going to be up here. Let's see what he's going to have to say. I highly suspect he'll have me venturing down to the different tiers of the city.
I must hear what you saw in Osgiliath, and I must hear it quickly.
There you are, Kippen. I suppose that you have been north of Ramas Ekor on Imrahil's errand. I told you to assist the Prince of Dol Amroth, but soon afterward I regretted doing so. There were so many matters I should have asked you about in greater detail, but I gave away my chance by sending you away. It is all set right now, for you have returned, and I will worry at it no longer. I must hear what you saw in Osgiliath, and I must hear it quickly. No, not here. Speak to me if you are ready, and we will depart together for the Old Archives, where we will find the first and oldest collection of scrolls in the city. I think your tale may require further study, and that is where we may conduct it. Yeah, let me just do this now.
Let us go to the Old Archives and speak on the way.
You may begin the tale of your experience in Osgiliath as we walk, and perhaps I will have heard the full extent of it by the time we have arrived. We must not spend too long poring over old scrolls when battle is so close upon us. But my heart tells me that there is something that we have overlooked, some detail that may be of use to us in the days ahead. We must know what this thing may be.
Your encounter with Gothmog fills me with a dread I cannot explain. I hope to learn why here in the Old Archives.
Pretty cool place, man. Welcome to the Old Archives, Kippen. They were carved into the pure rock in the center of the Sage's Neath when the city was still called the Tower of the Sun. This was the original library and storehouse of the city, and it remains a trove of ancient knowledge and secrets. There's much to discover in the scrolls and books that are kept here, but few in these days give much thought to these dusty shelves. There's no semblance of our order to be found. It was in these dark chambers that I found the scroll of Isildur and learned much that I needed to know. I'm worried about the commander you met in Osgiliath. Gothmog, the Dread Terror. He claims to be Mordorith, reclaimed from the void. But neither of those is his true name. His true name was Eärnur, and he was the last king of Gondor. Eärnur was mighty, and he did not lack courage, but he possessed none of the caution that could have saved him from his doom. He had a great victory at Fornost when he defeated the Witch King of Angmar, but that victory stirred his pride to great heights. The Witch King fled. Prince Eärnur believed that he had nearly rid Middle-earth of that terrible foe and cursed his failure to end it there. Years later, the Witch King issued a challenge to Eärnur, now King of Gondor, and summoned him to Minas Morgul. Eärnur went to that dark city to face his hated foe and was lost. We know now that his will was mastered, and he became loyal to the servant of his former enemy. He took a new name, Mordorith, and he was given rule of Angmar, while the Witch King managed the entrance of Mordor elsewhere in Middle-earth. Through your own efforts and those of the Rangers and the champions of Angmar, he was defeated, but it seems that victory was not to last. He maintained some bond to his former life, and if allowed his Dark Master to draw him back before he was lost for good. Search in this chamber for mention of Eärnur, and I will search the other. Alright, let me take my little walk thing off and search some of these scrolls. You study many roll scrolls, but nothing relevant is found. You find a yellow scroll that bears Eärnur's name many times throughout. You get better fortune than I did, Kippen, for I have yet to find anything. Let me see this scroll. Mithrandir takes it from you and quickly reads the yellowed parchment. After a moment, he looks up at you again. There are matters of interest in this scroll. It speaks of not one challenge, but two, a detail of which I was not aware. It appears that the Witch King challenged Eärnur to ride forth, and the king was dissuaded from that foolishness by his steward, a wise man named Mardil. That name I do know, for he would be the first of the ruling stewards when Eärnur disappeared into Minas Morgul. It is from this line that Denethor draws his authority. Eärnur did not ride to Minas Morgul alone. He was accompanied by a retinue of knights, and they disappeared with him. Some of the men you may have seen before are transformed into Kargul. This scroll bears their names, Orlang and Calatur, Silmahar and Mosilinis. I cannot match these names with their fates. The names are not familiar to me, but I do have a dim recollection of that man named Orlang, that he may have committed some heroic deed at the Battle of Fornost. It is the barest hint of a memory, but I have not even that for these others. Masilnis is a common name among the women of Gondor. None of the histories I have seen include any women in the retinue of Eärnur's knights, but this scroll appears genuine to me, and I have no reason to doubt it. Some of Eärnur's knights may have returned to trouble Middle-earth as Kargul, but the power he wielded as Mordorith seems more deadly than theirs. We should expect that he will be more powerful still in his guise as Gothmog, and yet somewhere behind these masks does any of Eärnur remain? He was bold but foolish. Can it be that Gothmog will be the same? Search this chamber for more mention of Eärnur, and I will search the other. The pages of these books are very faded and tell you nothing of interest. Keep searching all these bookshelves here. The books are falling apart, and you handle them gingerly, but find a little note. Find little of notes, sorry. You find a dusty tome containing records of the kings and stewards. You found something else? Ah yes, this book contains charts describing the passage of succession through the line of the kings, and then through the lines of the ruling stewards. Do you see, here is Mardil, the first of the stewards who ruled Gondor after Eärnur was taken into the darkness of Minas Morgul. Mardil swore an oath to rule only until the king returned, and each ruling steward has made the same vow. Mithrandir looks around furtively, ensuring that you are alone. When he is satisfied that you are alone in the archives, he continues. Perhaps at one time the stewards believed that the kings would return, but that possibility must now seem unlikely. We should not speak of it, even here. But there is one on his way to Minas Tirith who will remind Denethor of his vow. The king may very well return to Gondor, and the rule of the stewards will no longer be necessary. Until the king returns. Oh dear. Kippen, you are not to speak a word of this to anyone. But I fear we may have overlooked a crucial detail. Our mutual friend approaches the city in the company of his Dunedain kin. If Gondor survives the war to come, he will claim the kingship. He will trace his line back through the years to Isildur. But what if someone else seeks to claim that right? What if Eärnur claims the kingship? He is descended from Anórien, brother of Isildur, in unbroken succession. If he can prove that he is Eärnur, his claim to the throne is stronger than Aragorn's. We must prevent it, Kippen. We must prevent the return of this king. It may come to nothing, Kippen. There are few in the city who would believe that a man might return from the darkest depths of evil. Though he was once Eärnur, he has worn many guises since the King of Gondor. He cannot be the man he was, and despite the rules of succession, he has been corrupted by Angmar and by Mordor. We must remain alert. If Gothmog does seek to seize the throne of Gondor, we must oppose him no matter the cost. We should leave this place. It is no longer comfortable or familiar as it once was. I like those archives. Those were pretty cool. Definitely felt ancient in there. We must keep each other's confidence on this matter and tell no one of the true nature of Gothmog's lineage. No good can come from it, for Gondor or for Middle-earth. I do thank you for your tale, Kippen, though it be unpleasant and worrisome. Better to know and prepare than to be taken unawares. For now, there is a city to defend. We must set our will to its defense and let all other matters fade into the background. They are lesser matters for as long as the gate and the men defending it stand strong. May that be for a long time. May that be long enough. Okay, so now I do indeed need to return to the first circle. So yeah, let me go do that.
All right, I admit the deed. What will you do?
You have come back? Did you tell Myrdal about the rats? You tell Dirion that you do not believe his story about the rats, and that you think he has been stealing food from the stores. His brow knits with rage, and his eyes darken. When he finally speaks, his voice is desperate. Have mercy upon me, Warden. I admit the deed. My family could not bear to leave the city, and when the order to evacuate came, they hid within the house. They are there still. This is their home, and they could not bear to leave it, or me, my wife Mundil, my son Kunir, and my daughter Fionel. They will not be accounted for when Myrdal rations out the food. If I do not steal some food for them, they will go hungry, so I have set aside a small amount. Is that a crime? Have mercy. What will you do? If you turn me in, you will doom my family. Help me, Kippen, or do nothing. Better than to have my family's lives upon your conscience. Ah. Interesting. So I have a choice to make. Let me just look this up quickly, make sure it doesn't impact anything moving forward. I don't think it impacts anything. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm inclined to turn him in because I don't even know if I believe his story. And if it is true, I think that the record keeper would forgive him on my behalf. So I'm going to say turn him in.
A pox on you! A
thousand poxes, Kippen. You diminutive fool. You have the look of a child and don't understand even such a simple thing. How can you punish me for trying to care for my family? I will not forget you. My hatred goes with you, cursed warden. Alright. There we go.
I will not forget this.
Yeah, he's mad. He's mad.
Forgive it.
So now I need to return back to the Dome of the Sun.
That is an unforgivable transgression. He brings shame upon his city.
Yes, what brings you to me, Kippen? You tell Thalhir about Dirion's theft of food from the stores he was charged to guard, and Thalhir nods. That is an unforgivable dereliction of his duty, especially in a time of war when we may face the possibility of a long siege. You have done a good thing for the city, my friend. I will send guards to apprehend him and put him back in the lockhouse for this transgression. I do understand his motivation for this, however. I will send some good men to find his family and ensure that they are provided for, and that they are counted when the food rationing begins. Still, let their father's sins be a lesson to the young ones that honestly carrying out one's duty is a better way to serve the city, the steward, and the council. Perhaps the longest siege of all is that waged against a man's honesty and a sense of duty by the events of these dark days. Thank you, Kippen, for your role in this matter. We are lucky to have you. Not quite the outcome I was expecting, but okay. Oh my god, I'm a snitch, aren't I? I'm a dirty snitch. I'm gonna lose so many subscribers over this one. I can't believe I'm a snitch. Okay, so now talk to Imrahil in the first circle. Alright, let me run all the way back there.
It will not be long before the city is surrounded. I hope we are ready.
Imrahil stares at you appraisingly. I have a message for you, Kippen. I received word that Ormatar, the captain of the Citadel, has been looking for you. You should go and speak with him in the Citadel without delay. For that can mean only one thing. Go to Ormatar with haste. I have to admit, it is a tremendous amount of back and forth here in this season. There was a lot of back and forth in some of the early maps of the game, but I think the developers over time try to avoid that. But it looks like it came back with full fury in Gondor.
I have been looking for you. The steward has summoned you.
You are Kippen the Warden? You must be. Who else might carry themselves as you do? I have been looking for you. The steward has summoned you.
Peregrine the Halfling will bring you before the steward.
Surely you know Peregrine the Halfling. You and he must hail from the same far-off land, unless I greatly miss my mark. Lord Denethor has named him the guard of the Citadel. He will bring you before the steward. Tarry not.
I will bring you before the steward. Keep your wits about you.
Alright, Kippen, you may wish to keep your wits about you, for he has a somewhat frightening countenance. He is a great man of importance, I don't doubt it, but he is very stern and does not go out of his way to cushion the effects of his words.
There is much to do, and now I hear the steward has summoned my friend for an audience. Time-wasting rubbish.
This is the Tower Hall, Kippen. Do not tell anyone, but the steward makes me nervous. I will show you where to go, and then return to my posting outside. Glad he does not need me at the moment. This way. This hall is very grand, but I would much prefer a cozy hobbit hole. Everything is so big, so cold. Kippen, here is my lord. Good luck, Kippen. Imrahil told me you were with my son when he fell before the city, Kippen. Would that you had drawn his foes away or put yourself between his horse and the wraiths. He fights still, but it is an unnatural wound. It saps his strength, and his body is wasting away. My son. Denethor's voice breaks, and his eyes are drawn back into Faramir's bed. He shakes his head, and when he speaks again, his voice is full of iron, and his fists are clenched. Do you know what it is like to live so near to Mordor, Kippen? Do you know what it is like to stand on the wall of your city and see flames on the horizon, knowing that they signal some terrible work of evil? Do you know what it is like to always be in the thought of creatures so vile and so terrible that even death cannot master them? I know what it is like, Warden. Every morning I wake up knowing it, and every evening I retire to my chamber knowing it. And in the darkest reaches of the night, I wake from troubled dreams knowing it. I have struggled long with this knowledge, and I struggle still. Though my sons and heirs be taken from me, I struggle for my people. Come with me, Kippen. I will show you something. Denethor has brought you to a secret chamber high in the Tower of Ithelion. No one comes to this chamber without my leave, Kippen, and I grant that sparingly. When I look at you, I see a student of Mithrandir. The wizard has been a friend to Gondor so far, but he does not have the full measure of my trust. Why should he possess it? He is not of this land, and if the battle turns ill, he will simply leave it, leaving my people to suffer and die. I am not without weapons, Kippen. I brought you here so that you will see I still fight the enemy, though none appreciate the battle I wage within this high chamber. This is a scene stone, an heirloom of the kings of old. I have turned it to my will.
Look deep within the stone, as I have done. Will you see what I have seen?
Let's look into the Palantir. Images begin to swim before you. Osgiliath was our last line of defense, and now it is taken. The armies of the enemy spill onto the plain, and their siege engines and weapons of war eagerly follow. The forces arrayed against us are vast, and they hunger for our destruction.
The forces of Mordor fill Osgiliath and spill into the plain.
Hirgon was to present the red arrow to Theoden of the Rittermark, and by doing so summon the riders of Rohan to our defense.
Rider of Gondor, he is slain.
He has been gone for more than a week, and now I see that he is slain. No one is coming to help us.
The red arrow will not come to Rohan. We are alone.
Edith Ungol. Interesting.
No. No! Mithrandir's lackey is held captive.
Mithrandir does not share his mind with me, but I know of the dream that came to my sons. The dream that tried to snare Faramir but stole Boromir instead. This must be the halfling, captured by the enemy and held in his tower. We are undone by the folly of Mithrandir. So that is indeed the captive Frodo.
My greatest fear comes to pass. Isildur's bane, taken by the enemy.
You recognize the captive immediately. It is Frodo. Slowly your mind clears and you shake the visions from your sight. I have seen a great deal in the Scene Stone, Warden, but these terrible visions fill me with dread as never before. You have seen what I saw in the stone. Hirgon and the Red Arrow did not make it to Rohan, and the foolish one Mithrandir sent to Mordor is a captive in Cirith Ungol. Yes, I know of that errand, and I know it has failed. Whatever that fool brought with him is now gone, and if it is the weapon as I perceive it, it will not matter if the gates of Minas Tirith last 5 minutes or 5 hours. The end will come. Listen to my words, Kip, and hear what I say, and tremble at the truth in them. There can be no turning back from this doom. It comes even now. Listen to my words, hear them, and know that they are true, for the doom of Gondor is at hand. Now entering Minas Tirith besieged. Where am I? Okay, so I guess this is like an instance version of Minas Tirith, but I think this is a nice little cliffhanger to leave you guys at. And for me as well. So thanks for watching. See you next time. For the Siege of Minas Tirith, apparently.
Thanks for stopping by the Renaissance Gaming Monastery. I hope you join our community on Discord and Twitter. These videos are produced with a lot of hard work and love. If you think they're worth $1, I'd be grateful for your contribution. You can send a thanks donation or become a member on YouTube. You can also support through PayPal, Patreon, or even with cryptocurrency. All links are in the description. See you on the next video.